In the far north, tucked away between Sweden, Finland, and Russia, there's a place called Norway. It's not just any country, it's one of the richest in the world. Out of every 4 people you meet, one's a millionaire. It's got stunning nature, sure, but there's more to it. Norway's story is pretty incredible. It went from being pretty hard up, struggling to make ends meet, to sitting on a pile of wealth. And it wasn't gold or diamonds that changed its fate, but a smart move with the oil they found under the sea. This isn't just about money, though. It's about how they used that chance to make life better for everyone there. It's a real-life lesson on looking out for each other and planning for the future. So let's dive into how Norway flipped its script and became the envy of countries everywhere. Norway's past. Let's wind the clock back and land in a Norway that's a world away from the glossy postcards and oil wealth we associate with it today. Back then, Norway was pretty much the underdog of Scandinavia. Life was tough, really tough. Most folks were farmers, but with Norway's rugged terrain and those long, harsh winters, making a living from the land was like trying to squeeze water from a stone. Imagine small, scattered communities where the simple act of visiting a neighbor could mean a day's trek through unforgiving landscapes, and where education was a luxury few could afford. Then, as if life wasn't hard enough, along came the late 18th century, and things took a nosedive. The famous economist Thomas Malthus might have left the country, but his departure marked the beginning of some of Norway's darkest days. The economy was in shambles, crops failed, and famines spread like wildfire. It was a time of despair, and for many, the future looked bleak. The idea that Norway could ever become a wealthy nation seemed like a pipe dream, a fairy tale. But as they say, it's always darkest before the dawn. Norway's story was about to take a dramatic turn, one that would see it rise from the ashes of its agrarian past to become a global powerhouse. It's a testament to the resilience and determination of the Norwegian people, a reminder that even in the most challenging circumstances, change is possible. So, how did they do it? How did Norway flip the script from a struggling nation to a model of prosperity and well-being? Buckle up, because this part of the story is where things start to get interesting. Turning point. All right, so here's where the plot thickens. Norway's sitting there, pretty much down on its luck, right? Then, out of nowhere, comes this game changer. It's like finding a winning lottery ticket in the couch cushions, but way bigger. We're talking about oil, black gold, hidden deep under the North Sea. Before this, nobody's looking at Norway and thinking, wow, what a wealthy country, but that's all about to flip. So in the late 60s, some folks start thinking, hey, maybe there's oil out there in the North Sea. It's a long shot, but worth a look. Companies start drilling, and guess what? They hit the jackpot. It's like Norway won the oil lottery overnight. But here's the kicker. Lots of countries find oil and end up worse off, tangled up in all kinds of problems. It's called the oil curse. But Norway? They decide they're not going down that road. They take a step back and think, how can we do this differently? They've seen the mess oils made in other places, and they're determined to write a different story. So they start laying down some ground rules, making plans not just for the next few years, but for generations to come. It's not just about cashing in, it's about building something that lasts, making sure everyone benefits, and keeping their beautiful country, well, beautiful. This is the moment everything changes for Norway. They're on the brink of something huge and they know it. But instead of diving headfirst into the oil boom, they take their time, think it through, and set themselves up for success. It's a masterclass in playing the long game, and let me tell you, it pays off big time. So how does Norway go from being the underdog to the top dog? Stick around, because this is where the magic happens. Strategic moves by Norway. Now, this is where Norway starts to play it smart. They've struck oil, but they've seen how that story ends for other countries, not always well. So, Norway thinks, let's not just party with this newfound wealth, let's make it count for our future. They decide to get strategic about it, and boy, do they nail it. First off, they look back at their roots. Norway's always been good with the sea, right? They've got this long history of fishing, sea trading, and braving the rough northern waters. They figure, we've been smart with the sea, we can be smart with oil too. So they start setting up laws to make sure the oil wealth doesn't just benefit a few, but the whole country. It's like they're saying, this oil, it's ours, all of us. Then they do something pretty bold. They start saving a chunk of that oil money instead of spending it all. Think of it like a giant savings account for the whole country, for now and for future generations. It's not just about making life better today, but making sure their kids and grandkids have something to build on too. But here's the real genius move. They keep focusing on other stuff too, not just oil. They're like, okay, oil's great, but let's not put all our eggs in one basket. They invest in education, healthcare, and technology, making sure they're not just an oil country, but a well-rounded, kick-ass place to live. And the environment? They don't forget about that either. They're all about green energy and protecting those stunning landscapes they're famous for. It's like they're playing this epic balancing act, making the most of their oil while keeping Norway, well, Norway, the oil boom. So, Norway's got this plan, right? They're sitting on a gold mine of oil, but they're determined not to let it go to their heads. They start drilling, and boom, the money starts flowing in. But here's where Norway starts to really stand out. They don't just go on a spending spree. Instead, they're like, let's be smart about this. They set up this thing called the Government Pension Fund Global, which is basically a giant piggy bank for the nation's oil money. Think of it as Norway's rainy day fund, but on steroids. This isn't pocket change. We're talking about one of the world's largest sovereign wealth funds. The idea is simple but brilliant. Take the oil money, invest it around the world, and use the profits to keep Norway running smoothly for decades, even when the oil runs out. But Norway doesn't stop there. They're all in on making sure this oil wealth actually makes life better for every Norwegian. Free education, top-notch healthcare, and a safety net that's the envy of the world. It's like they've taken the idea of wealth and redefined it. It's not just about having a fat bank account, it's about living in a society where everyone's got a fair shot at a good life. And the cool part? Even with all this oil money coming in, Norway keeps its cool. They're big on saving and investing for the future, but they also keep their focus on being green and sustainable. It's this balance of using their resources while also protecting those postcard-perfect landscapes that makes Norway kind of a superhero in the world of countries. Sustainable development and welfare. Now, here's where Norway really starts to shine. They've got the oil money, sure, but they're playing a different game than everyone else. It's not just about stacking cash, it's about building a country that's going to keep being awesome for generations to come. They're thinking big picture like, how do we make sure this oil boom doesn't just make us rich now, but keeps us solid in the future? First up, they double down on things that matter. Education, health, and making sure nobody's left behind. It's like they're using their oil wealth to buy a better future for everyone in Norway. Education from kindergarten to university is free, so everyone gets a shot at being their best self. Healthcare is top-notch, and there's this safety net that catches you if you fall. It's about making sure that the wealth isn't just for the few, but lifts everyone up. But Norway's not stopping there. They're also thinking about how to keep their country beautiful and their air clean. They're investing in renewable energy, electric cars, and all sorts of green tech. It's like they're saying, sure, we've got oil, but that's not the future. They're all about protecting those stunning landscapes and fjords that make Norway, well, Norway. And here's the kicker. They're doing all this while still saving money for the future. That giant piggy bank, the Government Pension Fund Global, is there to make sure that when the oil runs out, Norway's still in a good spot. They're investing that money all over the world, making sure it grows and keeps the country stable for years to come. Wrapping up Norway's incredible journey from a modest beginning to becoming a world leader in wealth and sustainability, it's clear that their story is not just about oil, but about foresight, community, and caring for the future. Norway teaches us that with thoughtful planning and a commitment to the greater good, prosperity can be sustainable and shared by all. What's your take on Norway's approach? Drop a comment, share this story to spark conversation, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for more insights. Let's spread the word on the importance of thinking ahead and investing in our collective future.